Welcome to the newest episode of Beatin' and Bangin'. I'm your host, Kyle Dalton. TGIF. I don't know about you, but I'm pretty pumped to think a week from yesterday we'll know the starting lineup for the 500. And a week from today, we'll have our first NASCAR Truck Series race of 2024. However, before we get there, there's some business to take care of this week, and that's a review of the week that was. What you'll see in this episode is a preview of what you can expect on the channel every Friday this season. We're calling it our This Week in NASCAR episode, and we'll post a video every Friday recapping what happened the week before, starting with the previous race, post-race comments, and then we'll work our way through the week and the storylines that developed. Instead of talking about it, let me show you, and we'll start with this past week. Beginning on Monday. On Saturday, NASCAR took an unprecedented action and moved up the clash at the Coliseum to avoid expected rains and historic flooding to come on Sunday. On Monday, the National Weather Service in Los Angeles revealed that NASCAR officials had made the right call, revealing that the downtown LA area had received a record rainfall of 4.10 inches, exceeding the daily record and becoming the 10th wettest day in the city's history. I know I can be critical of NASCAR for its decisions, but they got it right on this one, and they should be applauded for it. Also on Monday, I wrote a story about William Byron and his interesting suggestion for NASCAR to do something similar to the NFL and use flex scheduling in the future when a situation like what happened in LA arises again, because fans and teams would then know in advance that the race day could potentially be moved to another predetermined date. If done properly, like the NFL, this would avoid the confusion for fans who had planned on attending and watching Sunday's race, but missed it. I love the idea and hope it's something NASCAR considers in the future. Moving on to our next item, but staying on Monday. On his Actions Detrimental podcast, Denny Hamlin had a lot to say about his win in the season-opening exhibition race in LA. One of the more interesting takeaways from his podcast was what Hamlin mentioned about what he won't be saying in the future.
I'm going to retire I beat all your favorite drivers because I got a text, and those of you who saw the Netflix special with my dad, he sent me a text. He said, son, you got to stop that. I don't like it. It's just too cocky.
Good for Denny. You have to respect someone who respects their father like that. Sticking with the clash, Joey Logano finished fourth in the 150-lap main event, but it wasn't the Team Penske driver's finish that everyone was talking about after the race, but his confrontation with Ty Gibbs at the number 54's hauler. The two-time Cup Series champion made his regular Tuesday appearance on the Morning Drive show on SiriusXM NASCAR Radio and addressed the feud with Gibbs.
And at that point, I wanted to make sure he knew I was pretty upset about that, and that's not acceptable. Now, where do we go from here? I don't know. We had a conversation. He said all the right things. His words don't mean nothing to me anymore, so I'm not going to talk to him. But I don't really know the next thing to do.
It sounds like there could be some more beating and banging action between the 22 and 54 in 2024. Interestingly, that wasn't all Logano had to say. The conversation shifted to Kyle Busch when a fan submitted a question asking about the pair's relationship. Logano offered an interesting response.
I don't know if he considers me his friend yet, okay? I did tell him, though, if he ever broke down on the way home or something, I can be his first call, and I'll get up and I'll come pick his butt up. I don't know if he'll do that for me yet or not, but I'd do that for him.
I'm fairly confident no one had Joey Logano and Kyle Busch as friends on their 2024 bingo card, but here we are. Also on Tuesday, Dale Earnhardt Jr. posted his latest Dale Jr. download episode, and the clash and its future was a topic of conversation. Jr. didn't sugarcoat how he felt and took a firm stance on the exhibition race.
I'm of the opinion that it doesn't need to be going around to all these other racetracks. It doesn't need to go to Mexico. It doesn't need to go to Canada. It doesn't need to go back to the Coliseum. It doesn't need to go to your local short track or South Boston or anywhere. It needs to go back to Daytona.
Based on history, when Redneck Jesus talks, NASCAR officials listen. I wouldn't be at all surprised if when the 2025 NASCAR schedule comes out later this year, the Clash returns to Speed Weeks in Daytona. On Wednesday, Tony Stewart visited with SiriusXM NASCAR Radio and made headlines for the harsh words he had to say about his own organization. The NASCAR Hall of Famer got brutally honest about Stewart Haas Racing and its struggles over the last few seasons. However, what I found interesting is Stewart only focused on the last 2 years of the next-gen car. He failed to include the 2021 season, which included a single win by the organization, Eric Almirola's surprise trip to Victory Lane at New Hampshire. During the conversation, Stewart called the team's performance unacceptable and said changes to personnel will be coming in 2024 if things don't improve. Interestingly, less than a week earlier, Chase Briscoe was interviewed on the channel as well, and the 29-year-old driver surprisingly admitted that the personnel changes in the offseason, specifically the departure of veterans Kevin Harvick and Eric Almirola, have already resulted in a positive change within the organization. Take a listen.
Yeah, I think, the biggest thing is just trying to work together. That's something that, we did to a certain extent, but we kind of ran as 4 separate companies under one roof, where this year, going forward, I think we're trying to be more of just one team with 4 drivers and 4 teams, but they all kind of work in the same direction and try to help each other out. So, from that standpoint, I definitely think with this next-gen car, that makes more sense. With the old car, you could kind of get away with going and doing 4 different things, but now with everybody getting the same stuff, the more information you can get and work together and kind of find that one common setup, I think it's definitely kind of the best direction to go. So, yeah, I think that's the biggest thing from our conversations in the offseason, just trying to work together from a team standpoint, but also all 4 drivers kind of working together. That's something that we probably haven't done a great job of, at least the whole time I've been in the Cup Series at SHR, is we don't always help each other out on the racetrack. We almost race each other harder. So just trying to work together as a team and kind of all of us pull the rope in the same direction.
Very interesting insight from Briscoe. Later in the day on Wednesday, Denny Hamlin made it back into the news cycle after his appearance on NASCAR Race Hub. The Joe Gibbs racing driver stayed on for the full 30-minute abbreviated show and talked about a variety of topics, including his Jordan shoe collection. Listen to this.
We only know because of how many pictures he took, and that was around 535.
What?
So
535.
So you just new pair of shoes every day of the year.
He has a closet
well,
just for
I
the
get
shoes.
one of everything they make. So if they make one, I get one. So
Crazy.
It adds up quickly.
I bet it does.
535? Move over, Imelda Marcos. There's a new sheriff in town. On Thursday, Brad Keselowski was in the news when the RFK Racing Twitter account shared a video of the 2012 champion making laps around Bristol Motor Speedway in wet conditions. The number 6 car is seen driving around the half-mile track with a small rooster tail trailing behind the back rain tires. I know NASCAR has talked a lot about racing in wet conditions, and we had just a small taste of it last year at North Wilkesboro during All-Star Race Weekend. But if this is something that the sanctioning body is truly serious about, which it appears they are, then fans can expect to see future races in damp conditions. It might not be ideal for those in the stands, but it beats the hell out of waiting for hours, days, or having to hurriedly move up the race date, as we saw this past weekend at the Clash. All right, guys, that's it for our first ever This Week in NASCAR episode. I hope you enjoyed the recap of some of the biggest stories from the week. Just a reminder, if you want to read a more detailed account on these stories, go check out my work at heavy.com in their NASCAR section. I'll be writing a lot more there now with the season starting. Also, don't forget to go to beatingandbanging.com to sign up for our newsletter so you can have a recap of the week's top news items, including a review of what was said on the various NASCAR podcasts, plus the schedule for the upcoming weekend's races delivered right to your email each Friday. Thanks again, and hope you guys have a great weekend, the final one before the official 2024 NASCAR season kicks off, and have a great rest of your day.